Morning, Monday, January 2nd, 2023. Baseball's all-time player matchups. Wrote a book, Who is the Greatest? Matchup players, see who outperforms the other player. I've done a lot of everyday batters, probably about 100 of them, matchups. Check out the videos. I'm in the pitching section now, matching up pitchers. Last video was Cy Young versus Walter Johnson's. They tied in matchup in 12 categories. What are the categories? Career wins, innings, strikeouts, complete games, games started in a season, shutouts in a season, earned run average, wins in a season, innings in a season, strikeouts in a season, best ERA in a season, saves, and winning percentage. So it's 15 categories, not 12. Who wins the matchup? Cy Young and Walter Johnson, they tied. 7-7-1. 7 wins, 7 losses, 1 tie. This video, matching up Pud Galvin. Have you heard of him? Old school. 1880s. Versus Charlie Old Hoss Radbourn. 1880s. But these guys were incredible pitchers. Let's match them up in 15 categories. Career wins. Galvin, 365. Radbourn, 310. 1-0 Galvin. I'll write it down to keep track. Career innings. Galvin, 6,003. Career. Radbourn, 45-27. Give it to Galvin. Complete games. Galvin, 646. Have you heard of this guy, Pud Galvin? Look him up. Radbourn, 488. 3-0 Galvin. Game started career. Galvin, 688. Radbourn, 502. 4-0 Galvin. Strikeouts career. Galvin, 1807. But Radbourn beats him, 1830. 4-1 Galvin. Shutouts. Galvin, 57. Radbourn, 35. 5-1 Galvin. Shutouts in a season. Galvin had 12. His best was 12 in one season. Radbourn had 11. 6-1 Galvin. ERA career. Galvin, 2.85. Radbourn, 2.68. It's 7-1 Galvin. Whew. Wins in a season. This is interesting. Most for Galvin had 46, but do you know that Charlie Radbourn won 60 games one year? Give it to Radbourn. 60 games in one season. Innings in a season. The most for Galvin, 656. Radbourn beats him, 678. Score, 7-3 Galvin. Strikeouts in a season. Galvin had 369. Radbourn, 441. 6-4 Galvin. Best ERA in a season. Galvin, 1.99. But one year, Charlie Radbourn had 1.38. It's 7-5. It's a score. Galvin. Saves. They tied. They both had 2 saves. So that's just a tie. Winning percentage, last category. Galvin, 541 winning percentage. Radbourn 615. Give it to Radbourn. What's the final score here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 for Galvin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for Radbourn, and 1 tie. 15 categories. Galvin wins it. Why? Because he started out with more wins, or he had more wins, more innings, more complete games, and more games started. That was his key. Key to Radbourn was the individual season. He had 60 wins one year. He had more strikeouts career. And he had more innings one year. This is incredible. 678 innings in 1 year. Games started. That was a category I missed. In a season. Galvin had 75 1 year, and Radbourn had 73. So that's where Galvin just edged out Radbourn. Galvin wins and wins. Galvin wins and wins. You have win-win together. Okay. Galvin wins in career wins, innings, complete games, games started in a season, shutouts in a season, best ERA in a season. Charlie Radbourn wins in career strikeouts, wins in a season, innings in a season, strikeouts in a season, best ERA in a season, and an overall winning percentage. Who do you take? Pud Galvin or Charlie Radbourn? This is a tough one. Galvin has more wins, more innings. Radbourn had a better season. 60 wins in a season, 441 strikeouts 1 year. And his overall winning percentage career is better than Galvin. I'm going to go with Charlie Radbourn. Even though Galvin has more wins, I think Radbourn is the workhorse. Galvin's a workhorse. He had 6,003 innings compared to Radbourn's 4,527, but Galvin played 15 years where Radbourn only 11. I don't know why Radbourn gave it up after 11 years. It was the 1880s. Back then, those times were tough. Pitchers, if he wins 60 games in 1 year, maybe his arm got really wiped out. How do you win 60 games? And how do you pitch 678 innings 1 year? You know, today's modern day players just basically pitch about 200 innings, 250 maybe. And some of the good ones in the 60s, 70s, and 80s pitched 300 innings. Galvin doubled it. Galvin and Radbourn both doubled the innings. 1 year, Galvin had 656 innings, and Radbourn had 678. Why did they pitch more? Why more innings and more wins? Wouldn't they take a break? They pitch a complete game, 9 innings, maybe throw 150 pitches. Maybe take a day, 2, 3 days off. Like today's pitchers. Do you know today's pitchers take 4 days off between starts? Sometimes 5 days off. The owners want to preserve their arms for the season. But why did these guys pitch every other day or every third day? Pud Galvin had 75 starts in 1 year, a record. Radbourn had 73. And you know, back then they just played 130 games. So he's pitching every second or third day, at least every third day. And sometimes they pitch back-to-back games like a doubleheader. They start the first game, take a break, start the second game, go 18 innings for the day. No big deal to them, right? Incredible, those old times pitchers. I thought you'd be interested in that matchup, okay? We'll continue more pitching matchups. I like to see who wins the matchup. Who should I do next? You know who's interesting is Christy Mathewson. Who should we match him up with? How about Pete Alexander? Because he had a lot of wins, and so did Mathewson. Let's do those two. See who wins that matchup next video. Thanks for watching here. I'm out.